Hi everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Fasanara's Digital Dividend podcast. I'm Matt Koos, the head of origination for developed markets. Here with me today, I have my co-host Shreya Thumar, senior associate from the origination team.
Hi everyone.
And we're very happy to have a special guest today, a lender who's leading in his market, who's done some very interesting things, come out of a very prestigious accelerator incubator program, and has already launched some white label partnerships with banks. Can you please introduce yourself, sir?
Hi, my name is, so we know each other, but just for the rest of the people listening, I'm William Jalloul. I'm half Czech, half Lebanese, but born and raised in Prague. Some kind of quick background about myself. I come from the financial world. I started my career in financial consulting, where I co-founded a financial consulting firm with over 400 consultants and 20 offices in the Czech Republic. I then moved into venture capital, kind of started a small family office where I started investing into early stage startups in fintech, SaaS, esports, but also into real estate. But most of the things I started or invested into were very local on the Czech and Slovakian markets, but I had the ambition of building something with, let's say, a pan-European and global impact. And that's how I came to start my current company and what we're going to talk about today, which is Flowpay.
Wow, now that's a super cool intro, William. I think you're like the international man of mystery when it comes to fintech lending, with all the different kind of paths your career has taken and all of the success along the way. And we hope that today we can dive in a little bit and provide some insight to our listeners into kind of the journey in how you kind of made that pivot from, again, creating one successful firm, pivoting into a different area, and then now founding another one. Could you maybe talk through the decisioning or a little bit more color on that first business, and then what drove then the jump to a different sector and now the one you're in now?
Well, when it comes to entrepreneurship in general, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur since I was 14 years old. So I come from a family. My father, who is actually now in his 90s, was an entrepreneur his entire life. Actually in a completely different industry, which was in the glass industry. And he became quite successful. But then when I was around the age of basically 13 and 14, he lost his business. He bankrupted. And at that time, through his own faults, but as well kind of external factors on the market, as it was a very kind of, let's say, niche business. And through the rise of automation in China, then 9/11 actually around that time, and a lot of external factors of the US dollar weakening, we lost basically everything. So from suddenly having a very great life, we suddenly had even trouble kind of affording basic needs. But even after this kind of experience with entrepreneurship, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur myself. I don't know in what industry, what I was going to do, but I just knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur because I just believed in that option of kind of self-determination and being able to build something you're passionate about and you love and actually enjoy working on it every day, and not building value, but for somebody else, but for myself. And that career kind of started around 17, where I then co-founded a firm with my dad in the consultancy around glass, but it wasn't something that I was really enjoying. I was very attracted to finance. I had ideas about becoming an investment banker. Then I realized how much time and effort and before I could even become one, I thought about kind of just going into business myself. And I got the opportunity in finance and financial consulting, where I started as a consultant myself. But I quickly built myself up to leading an entire team of 60 people, and then co-founding a firm, leaving with 5 other colleagues from the company and starting our own company. And then from there, I kind of created my first kind of, let's say, assets or net worth that I kind of accumulated in my first couple of years. This was in my 20s. And I always was kind of passionate about kind of helping other companies and ideas, something that can kind of grow. And I saw an opportunity in venture capital, especially in the early stage, really kind of the angel, really pre-seed part of the companies. So I started kind of going into investing into companies and kind of help co-found and build them. But after a couple of years of doing that, I wasn't somehow had a significant net worth and the capital. Then I realized that you needed to kind of be able to kind of take it to that next level was quite significant. So I said I would love to kind of create something of my own. And it was always back to kind of going to building something, but with an impact on, let's say, a European and global kind of impact. And what was the kind of thing that I really loved and I was passionate about and I had experience with before because, I was helping in venture capital kind of, these are all SMEs as well, right? Helping them kind of build. And they always needed more capital. And previously in the financial consulting days, I worked with thousands of these like traditional SMEs that had already existing businesses. And we helped them solve a lot of issues, but always it came down to access to capital. And that process was horrendous. We sat with them, we analyzed them, we took their tax returns, we went to the banks, we waited for 3 months, and then we got a no thank you. And that just frustrated me always. And that's kind of what led me, and I thought, this needs to be solved.
Okay.
Wow, what a journey. Thank you, William, for sharing that with us. So obviously now you're building Flowpay. Maybe you can talk us through some of the, biggest challenges you faced at outset when you first started building this.
Building a lending business is very difficult. It has what I love about this business and everything around it is that because the market is so massive and the opportunity is just so massive, and I kind of talked about that right now, right? That it's there's a huge kind of gap between what the banks are providing and what there is offered on the market, and I think it's causing a lot of issues, not just economically because SMEs are the heart of the economy, but also socioeconomically because the SME kind of SMEs generally kind of create the middle class, and if they don't have access to capital, the middle class kind of disappears, and this causes also socioeconomical problems. So in a way, I really believe that this needs to be solved for us to all live in a better world. And when kind of going into starting building this, I had this grand vision and this idea, I had this experience. But then you always, when you're building a lending business, it's about a chicken and an egg. Basically, to actually become significant, because it's an economy of scale, you actually, the size of kind of the balance sheets you have to grow to actually make an impact. It takes some time to build, and to actually build those balance sheets, you need traction in history. But to gain traction in history, you need that money. So it's always what comes first, and that is an incredibly difficult thing. And to being able to kind of also find your unique position on the market is also kind of to be able to show and get the trust of investors that you're actually building something that can really work and work in the long run and really be that significant size. Is not easy, and a lot of people. It took time to actually see the value, even though I saw it there always, and I know we've had these discussions, you and me, Matt, before that with you as you saw in us what we can become, but it took a lot of time to find those other people that would actually support us in our mission, and that's not easy.
And to that point, I mean, you spoke to the personal experience of seeing the impact of going through with your father's firm, seeing success to bankruptcy, but then also helping out your clients as a consultant, try to secure funding. That drove then this need to develop a lending business that makes capital accessible on a rapid basis to SMEs to fill this gap that the banks have created. But I'm curious to know, as you highlighted, and we can echo from speaking with around 500 lenders a year, it is absolutely difficult to build a lending business. And so I'm curious to know, did you were part of an incubator program? Was that helpful in developing kind of maybe more the strategy around the business operation? Did that help you develop your product for kind of achieving product market fit quickly? Or, what were the steps you took in that early stage to then fine tune Flowpay's offering to then put you in the position which, we were very happy to first meet you more than a year and a half ago now, but see even the development from when we first started our discussions to then finally now getting in position to have a facility live. There was a huge amount of development. So could you speak to maybe the major inputs to shaping that?
I want to say it's been almost 2 years since we met for the first time. So it's been even longer. But time flies, doesn't it? So what the difference, kind of what it was made was because we come from the Czech Republic. So as I said, we started our company in the Czech Republic, and there's that kind of also that getting the trust of the venture capitalists, because let's say the venture capital market has established much quicker over the past kind of 5 to 10 years, but it's still in its kind of early stage in the local markets. And, accessing the capital to be able to really build a pan-European business is not easy. The thing is that we were part of the Techstars Accelerator program. We were actually chosen as only the second Czech company in history to participate in this program, which we saw as a huge kind of, let's say, accomplishment for us, that we were rewarded. Yeah. It was that, we were building something. We always had the ambition of building that, but it was difficult. We know I had a certain network myself, contacts locally, because it's all about that. You have to network, you have to contact, you have to find those investors, people who kind of support you in your mission and are able to share knowledge and experience with you. But it's also limited, right? And being able to kind of access the knowledge on a pan-European scale was something that I needed to kind of get to. And that's where I saw kind of an opportunity from Techstars. I actually didn't know Techstars beforehand. They were the ones that reached out to me. We were doing quite well, or we were, let's say, for an early stage startup, we were visible on the Czech market, but not anywhere else. But Techstars kind of caught us somewhere, reached out to us. And we had an amazing discussion with the managing director of the accelerator, who actually former built fintechs. He was a venture capitalist, and he invested into actually a Czech company, which became a buy now pay later company, which then later on was sold to Zip, a Australian buy now pay later company, quite big on the global scale. And so he knew that, the potential on even, Central and Eastern European markets, and then that there's a lot of talent here. But it is still kind of, for Western European funds tend to look at us through their fingers, because they still consider us Eastern Europe.
Their loss, our gain.
Exactly. And that kind of brought us that, this accelerator was happening. So it was Techstars, the largest kind of accelerator in the world, with Y Combinator, a huge track record of successful companies. And they just really know what they know how to do, which is accelerate, right? Make everything do more faster is kind of their, and having that kind of knowledge and know-how, and a managing director like Allard Luxinger, who had the experience and the knowledge, was just incredibly valuable for us as a company to really do more faster and really gain access to a global network of kind of advisors, venture capitalists, and knowledge and know-how. And that's how we met, Matt, right? It was through the program. Yeah. I was recommended to another advisor, who then recommended me to you, and that brought us to today.
Exactly. And again, it's this I think, though, one thing that shines through is the fact that your entrepreneurial spirit, combined with your openness to accepting input and advice from others that's allowed you to not only kind of grow and succeed, but to do more faster. I think it really is something that takes a special personality type to be able to take advice from others, to sit in a room and listen to people tell their stories of what failed, and not have the kind of blocker of pride and say, well, no, but my idea is better, so I don't need to listen to that. It's taking those inputs on, adapting your product and offering, and taking best practices to put you in position to become a market leader. And so having said that, I think this would be a great chance for maybe you to highlight from kind of overall a holistic viewpoint, what is Flowpay's offering? So what type of lending do you do? What products do you offer? And who are your clients?
And the value, those, just to add on top of that, what the people have brought to me is just incredible, and being able to listen on top of that. And also, even some of the time, it's not just about learning from them and getting that, but also getting just that confirmation that, hey, your idea is right. You can then really double down on it and go for it and make it even bigger. And that's sometimes you just need a cheerleader as well. And that's and as a founder, it's really important because it's so dynamic, and most of the time you're dealing with things that are actually very negative, and especially a startup, and then you need just somebody to kind of give you that support. And that sometimes truly kind of really helps that entrepreneur go to the next level. And what Flowpay is and what it does, if I were to kind of simplify it, we're basically an end-to-end embedded lending solution for SMEs. So what does that mean is that because we see the potential, and when I started the company, that the data that you obtain from traditional tax returns are irrelevant 90% of the time, because everybody optimizes it from small to big companies. And it's old data. It's not current data. So we saw an option of like, where can we access more relevant data? And we saw that platforms that serve SMEs, if you've got e-commerce, point of sale systems, payment providers, or accounting platforms that have a lot of real-time data about the SMEs, we saw that we were able to partner with them, connect into their kind of platforms, access the data from these platforms to use to evaluate the SMEs more precisely, but also cooperate with these platforms as a source of customer acquisition. And that's embedded finance, because these platforms are already serving thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands of SMEs, and they have already built a trusted brand. But they would like to offer an added financial service. And, once you're big enough, you become a financial service company. And this has kind of, through embedded finance, become more democratized, that we can integrate a solution that we built to end, this data analytics, data evaluation, risk scoring, servicing, and everything from end to end for when it comes to lending, that we can integrate into these platforms, and they get an added service in a white label format to their current customer base. And we, at the same time, get access to tens of thousands of customers instantaneously without having to acquire them through complex and expensive marketing campaigns. So it's a win for the SME because he gets access to capital. It's a win for the platform because they get access to a new service that increases their revenues, but also customer loyalty. And it's a win for us. We get access to customers, and we are able to provide our product, which is capital, to the SMEs and generate revenues on that. And that's so it's a kind of a win-win-win situation. And at the end is Fasanara, which wins as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's the definition of synergy.
Exactly.
It's you are offering something to help their offering, which helps their borrower, which helps us.
Exactly.
So it's quite elegantly designed.
And on this comprehensive offering, William, that Flowpay provides, can you talk us through what is the USP? What makes Flowpay's offering, the best?
From a borrower's perspective.
Yeah, and that's from the borrower's perspective. So there's first of all, is that kind of end-to-end solution as well. So really we've built from the embedded finance, from the front-facing through easily integrated APIs to these platforms, to our full end-to-end loan management system, which we built from scratch, and CRM system. But also, we always consider ourselves a tech company. So the thing is, it's about being able to the data analytics perspective. So, and one of our original investors was one of the largest data science companies in the Czech Republic. So we had a huge pool of knowledge and know-how which we could have leveraged and built upon. So we've basically leveraging the data from the platforms. But we also leverage open banking data, where we've built our own classification models, forecast models, probability of default models, and taking that into account, that we can use the data from the platforms, the data from open banking, of course, public information, and we've built basically predictive models which predict not only the risk, but also mostly the potential of these small businesses, on which basis we lend. But there's so much more you can do beyond even technically lending, and we also be able to share with these SMEs for them to become more efficient, better at what they do. And we've been proving that by our kind of performance of our kind of defaults, and our long-term defaults are equivalent to banks, and that's kind of what we see as the great added value. And that's from the lending and the technology, but also just kind of being not just one segment focused, but basically being able to service a lot of different segments. Because I really believe, SME is a really large customer base, and most platforms out there focus, let's say, only on e-commerce, which we have as a solution as well. But there's so many, physical, retail, hospitality businesses, service businesses, which don't have your traditional e-commerce platforms that we can partner with.
And so it's really, again, I think that ability for a borrower to be in an environment they're already in. So maybe on the e-commerce site, they already have a shop open with, and then seeing that button with them basically able to take a loan, and you able to pull already their data from that e-commerce provider. And that's live data, which you're also at the same time validating with open banking data and combining to get a comprehensive picture of that potential borrower's cash flow situation, which allows you to make the decision quickly, effectively, and pay out the money in a prudent way. This is what attracted us. So from our perspective, the kind of time old adage, it's easy to give money out, it's hard to get it back, always shines through. And for us, it kind of starts and ends with a good approach to risk. And I think one thing that also kind of served as a stamp of approval of your approach is actually the validation you got in the form of the bank partnership you already have. Would you be able to talk a little bit about kind of that aspect of the business line and how that developed?
Yeah, I am a bit not too many details that I can talk about, but on a public note. But I'll it's fine. I'll handle the heat. Well, from that perspective, because we ran through the accelerator with Techstars in the Netherlands, so we as a company kind of were able to get a network and build a network in the Dutch market, and we were very close with ABN AMRO Bank. And after kind of even 2 years ago, when we ran through the accelerator and we started our discussions about potential cooperations, and they see the value and the huge value of embedded finance, and really see that as the future of financial services. But as well, for a bank to build what we have built would cost them, tens of millions of euros, take them many, many years to get to a certain point. And they understand that, cooperations kind of between startups, which are much more flexible, quicker, innovative, and willing to take the risks in the beginning, which it's much harder for the bank to do that. Then if they kind of become more established, then they see a potential of kind of synergies and partnerships. And we were able to do that. It took 2 years for us to kind of get to that position. But at the end of December, we were able to launch in the Dutch market in cooperation with ABN AMRO Bank and a payment provider.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So, which is actually our third market that we've entered into. And the potential is massive because at the end of the day, we talked about this problem of SMEs on a socioeconomic level. Just if we kind of quantify that, the funding gap in Europe is 400 billion euros. That's kind of SMEs that should have access to capital but don't. And that's a massive sum, right? And probably as a lender, if we go for this alternative route, I'm not going to be able to solve that issue on my own. Maybe, but it would be very difficult. Maybe I would have to become a bank myself. But we don't believe that. We believe that through cooperations and partnerships with potential kind of institutions, which have those kind of capacities to actually solve this issue, but us being able to leverage our kind of, let's say, straightforward, already built up technology and very scalable, that we would be able to kind of solve that.
And you touched a little bit upon the three markets. Now you're on your third market. So within these three markets, maybe you want to elaborate a little bit on how things are going, where you see the growth. Is there a new product or a trend that you're kind of seeing in your core markets?
So we started in the Czech market. Kind of an obvious step for number two was Slovakia. We used to be one country, so it was, and the language is very similar. Kind of as well from a legal perspective, it's also very close to us. Plus, one of our largest partnerships, which is ShopTet, which is the largest e-commerce platform in the region with over 40,000 SMEs on it. They are very significantly present in Slovakia as well. So we were able to kind of launch this market with them quite quickly. From currently the trend, we see, of course, a demand for and it keeps increasing. Like we're up until now, we've always been in a position with a larger demand than supply. And this has been something that we would really like to kind of as much as possible to fill this gap. But at the same time, we want to kind of keep expanding to new markets because really what we're trying to build out of Flowpay is kind of a pan-European kind of solution. Of course, kind of the core markets will be Czech Republic, Slovakia, the Netherlands, where we are currently significantly, let's say, most impactful. But over the next 3 years, we plan on expanding to another 9 countries, which we want to kind of at least gain a market presence and first cooperations and embedded partnerships. And then, in the future, over the next 5 years, even start building and becoming even kind of market leaders in those other markets as well.
Well, I think the beauty of, again, making credit decisions based on actual cash flows from sales and bank transactions enables you to take that approach that is unique. Because I think one thing we've seen in Fasanara's 13 and a half years of lending to more than 190 lenders in 60 countries is that there are material differences in borrower behavior, in business behavior, and repayment kind of practices country by country. However, the one normalizing factor is if you make decisions based on cash movements, you can kind of take out the skew that could come from a local jurisdiction's credit reporting regime, or the time lag that comes in financial filings, or the fact that the tax only might include a part of the actual business activity picture. So I think that's an approach that definitely, in our opinion, will serve you well. And so on that note, and kind of piggybacking on what you just said about 9 new countries, maybe if you talked about how much lending has Flowpay done life to date since inception? How big is your book now? And what do you see if we said maybe 5 years from now? What is your target for that?
I would just also kind of piggyback on what you said, right? That numbers are numbers, right? And the numbers are if they're in India, if they're in the US, or if they're in the Czech Republic. And that's the huge advantage of the scalability. And we do see the potential beyond even Europe because the technology is, we can kind of use it everywhere. And that's even with the potential bank partnerships. We don't have to just work with banks in Europe. We can work with banks in other countries and leverage this. And embedded finance is a future, I think, in the whole world, not just Europe and let's say with the Western world. So from that perspective, we see that. So currently, we are basically currently in the three markets with our kind of own balance sheet that it's being run in the Czech Republic and Slovakia. We currently have a balance sheet of about 3 million euros. That's in the Czech Republic. Of course, with our new partnership with Fasanara, we plan on increasing that quite significantly over the next basically 12 months even, because we do have that potential. We have those integrations. We have those potential partnerships. We just need to increase. We just needed that capital, right? The chicken and an egg problem, like we talked about. And so now this puts us in a position, and our ambition is that within the next 2.5 years, we do want to reach kind of a balance sheet of about 400 plus million euros, which we think that will take us to the position of 100 plus million in ARR, which kind of, and of course at the same time, while being profitable, because even at this point in date, our gross profit margin on our kind of lending portfolio is around 30 to 40%, and we can continue keeping that as we grow. Of course, there'll be some drops, but in the long run, we want to keep that. So making an incredibly kind of profitable business, but also significant at scale. And that's kind of our plans that this year we plan on raising a Series A, which will kind of help us accelerate that growth to those 9 countries. And more than kind of thinking about it from the perspective, at 100 million and a 40% kind of gross profit, that puts us in a position of a unicorn. And I think it's all about just working it off. And I'm looking at it from the perspective of the next 5 years, how I can build a $10 billion business out of this. That generates 1+ billion euros in revenues and have billions of euros under management that we can kind of service as many SMEs as possible, because the demand is on the market. This is not about market creation, but it's really about just market acquisition. And that's very fortunate. And the trend is there. The banks are less and less ready to serve the SMEs. You can see that like European market is an example, is UK. UK, basically 60% of the market is financed, or the SME market is financed by challengers or alternative lenders. And this trend is going to happen in the rest of Europe. And it's just about really filling in the gap. We really are in a position that we've built out, we're very confident in our models, in our technology, and being able to scale. And now we just need to scale.
That definitely sounds very promising. And we've definitely seen the potential in Flowpay and what you've built, William. So we want to give you the chance, maybe if you want to highlight a single achievement, or, perhaps you want to talk about someone that you want to give a shout out to, or what you're most proud of and what you've been building so far.
100% want to thank the team. So it's not only me behind all of this. And if I didn't have such a dedicated and really hardworking and knowledgeable team, then I wouldn't be able to get where I am. So and the team that's been grown, we're now 23 people. And we still always want to be efficient, but the team is growing, and we just want to keep growing beyond there. And being able to, of course, even the investors, people who really put trust in us and believed in us. My wife, who has patience,
there you go.
who has the patience with me, because I wouldn't it would be manageable without her. I got great advice from Matt. I got married last year, and he gave me great advice. So I really appreciate that.
Right.
And of course, the Fasanara team. You've been incredibly supportive of what we're doing, and I can't wait for what we're going to build together in the next maybe even decade. Because
for us, again, it's a long-term partnership. That's the approach we take when we work with people. Sure, our facilities have terms, but at the end of the day, they're made to be extended on good performance and grown. So we set up for our facilities such that we can continue growing, continue supporting people like you. So energetic, positive, honest, hardworking founders who want to help other businesses continue to grow their businesses, because we see the same thing you see. We know that SMEs employ 2/3 of all people in the EU. They account for more than half of GDP. And we want SMEs to have access to this capital because this is the only way forward for us. So we're absolutely here to do it together. Having said that, I want to maybe give a chance. So you've given a good shout out, and you I think you hit the most important people, absolutely. But if you could give one lesson to someone who's maybe even at the outset, so it's someone who's like you, who's entrepreneurial, who's thinking of setting up a business, and since you are such a unique entrepreneur, I'll give you the chance to then say, normally we ask for a lesson in lending. So something in designing a lending model, an approach to lending, setting up the lender. But if you want, you could have any type of lesson in setting up a business as well. We'll open it up for you.
I think I'll go with the second one, with kind of a shout out to kind of a lesson learned. Don't give up is one of them. It's such a simple lesson and it's repeatable. But if you really believe in what you're building and you're set out to kind of build that, and you are confident, because sometimes it is just about that gut feeling. You feel that it's right. Follow with that gut feeling and go out and break things. Go out, and even if people tell you it doesn't make sense, it's never going to work out. Why the market is already somebody taking it. It's go out and do that. And if you fail, then it's okay. It's failing is part of life. And without failure, I've failed so many times, I wouldn't be where I am. So we all learn from our mistakes, and we can just keep going and being able to. And then one day that idea that you really are really passionate about, you can take to the biggest heights.
Absolutely.
That is so optimistic, William. Thank you so much. Just to close, I guess for the listeners or viewers, if you're on YouTube, how can people contact you, whether they're looking to borrow in Czech Republic or Slovakia, or whether they want to work with you? How can
or if they want to set up a partnership, how can they get to you?
The best way is probably LinkedIn. So feel free to contact me on LinkedIn. Just send me a message, and I'll be more than happy to find partnerships. It's not just about Czech Republic, Slovakia, the Netherlands. We are ready to kind of technically be anywhere in Europe. So opening up those doors as well. And you can check us out at flowpay.io, which is our website. We are planning a new revamp in the next 3 months, so have a look out. But all the information is there, and I'm always accessible and available. So and LinkedIn is the best way to contact me.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, William. We really appreciate you making the time to be with us. And we really look forward to, again, ramping up our facility, ramping up our partnership, taking this forward beyond the existing 3 countries to the next 9 and beyond 400 million. So thank you so much, William. Have a great day. And thank you, everybody, for listening today.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.